Welcome to the Rustic Garden Homestead. Today's video is all about staking your tomato plants and starting your first pruning, bottom pruning the tomato plants. I'll talk to you why that's important and I'll show you how to do it. Subscribe to my channel. I'll show you how I set up a weave trellis here for the tomato plants that are growing along here. You can certainly use cages. I have cages across the way. They're with my pepper plants. They're kind of smaller, weaker cages. They're great for peppers. You can get bigger sizes for tomato plants. You can get something like this. I forget where these came from. Got them from my mom. I believe she got them from Gardeners online a long time ago. But basic staking is really about taking care of your indeterminate tomatoes. There's basically two types. You have your indeterminate tomatoes, which continue to grow. They're the ones that'll get 6, 7, 8, 9 feet tall. And you have your determinate varieties that may only get 3, 4, 5 feet tall. They set their flowers, they begin to fruit, and then they die back. You really only need to stake the indeterminate varieties that will continue to grow, or the determinate types that get, 4 or 5 feet. The smaller ones you can kind of just let go. So a couple of things. I put these in a while back. They've grown nicely. I've been taking care of them through the cold period, and these will be my tomatoes that come to table first. When I dropped them in, I didn't put in the thicker, heavier stakes right away, and you want to be careful. If you let your tomatoes get to this size and then you drop a stake in, really make sure you go a couple inches away. I'm using a thinner stake today, and then I'll put a thicker one out over here as these plants get bigger. Because this plant has rooted surface roots all over the place, it's rooted out. If I put a big fat stake in right here, I'm going to shear off roots close to the stalk, and they've branched out all over the place. So tip number one, try and put your stake in when you first plant the tomato plant, then you don't worry about damaging roots. And if you've let them get to a certain size, a couple inches out, put a thinner stake, and then out here you could put a thicker stake, one that might be a 6 foot, 8 foot stake, because as these get taller, these are only about 4 feet tall. They're kind of flimsy. The weight of these plants, hopefully, the weight of the tomatoes and the weight of the plants are going to pull that over. So I'm going to have to restake it. But the principle's the same. Drop a stake in, and then we're going to take care of the plants over here. You can see the bottom leaves are a little bit beat up. They're touching the ground. We're going to prune out about 20% of the bottom leaves to start forming a barrier between the soil and the leaves. This way any diseases don't splash up from the soil as easily to your plants. And also it's going to provide nice circulation of the wind and air under the plant and around the plant, which helps the plant dry and again helps manage diseases. So let me set up the camera and we'll start pruning and staking the plants right in here. One question I get a lot is, do I have to stake my tomatoes? And the answer is you do not. These are vines, and if you let them fall over, wherever the vine contacts the ground, a new root system is going to come out, and this tomato plant could take over this whole space. The only reason you really do this is if you're growing multiple varieties and you want to contain them and get different types of tomatoes, you may want to stake them up and manage them that way. If diseases are a problem in your area and they come every year, this is a good way to help manage diseases because you can maintain the growth of the plant, keep that air circulation going that I was talking about, and it's easier to come in and spray and remove damaged leaves. If you got the room and you just want, a couple varieties of plants, you can just let these tomatoes sprawl all over and you will get tomatoes that way. Now, I have to prune. I've talked about that before for the reasons. First thing you want to do is you want to start creating a gap down here. You can't just come in and cut off the 12-inch gap that I recommend because you'll shock the tomato plant. So you start really at the bottom, about now. I'm a little bit late to this. And you just clip off the bottom. And you can see this plant is beat up. There are some disease patterns on here. I wouldn't worry about that. When your plant leaves get weak, some diseases may latch onto the weak leaves. That doesn't mean it's going to spread through the rest of your plant. But you want to come in, prune out anything that's damaged. You don't have to cut off the entire leaf as you're starting. You can just cut off a part of the leaf. Now let me just take a quick look here. Like for instance this one, I'm just going to take half of it now. You want to leave enough leaves on there because that's what's going to fuel the growth of your tomato plants, of your tomatoes and the plant. And while you're down there, you can start with your weeding. I've talked about mulching in other videos and the reasons you do that if you want to check out my channel. And I think that's a pretty good start. As this plant gets taller, I'll take out some more leaves. But that's the start. I recommend using jute. It's a plant fiber. It'll degrade. And when you tie the plant, you want to just leave a nice loop in there like this. You don't want to tie it tight to this, because as the plant expands, you could strangle it a little bit. A nice wide gap right in between there. And that will secure the tomato nicely as you go upwards. After I take care of this, I'll take the camera back and show you all the plants here and how I prune them and stake them. And that's the start. So that's one main stem here. And again, if you want to subscribe to my channel, I'll talk about removing suckers, going to single stem, double stem, and why you may want to do that. For the stem over here, I'm going to pull that back too and just tie it off. And that's the beginning of staking, pruning, and getting my plant ready for continued growth. So I just want to be clear, what we're doing today is bottom pruning. We're taking off up to 20% of the leaves of each tomato plant. We're not pruning suckers. That will be in future videos. I dropped some cages on the pepper plants. They work really well to support pepper plants. I'll be doing videos on that. But I wanted to show you the volume of what I took off, or the amount that I took off of each plant. That's what I took off of this plant that is an indeterminate variety. I believe the celebrities are actually determinate varieties, so I lightly prune the bottom of those plants too because I want the air circulation. But I just wanted to give you an idea visually of how much I took off of each tomato plant. You don't want to overdo it. You want to go, you know, slow and steady, and slowly remove the leaves, and we're going to build a gap from the soil all the way up to about 12 inches over time. And that again helps with disease and air circulation. After I prune them, stake them up, I like to give them just a quick drink of organic fertilizer. I'm 90% organic. This is a point where organic fertilizers are perfect. There's no emergency, no need for the chemical fertilizers. And I just soak the leaves down. The water-soluble fertilizers will be used right away by the plants. And that's it. When you're feeding your vegetable garden, you just want a slow, steady feed over time. No need to rush it, no need to overdo it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com, and please subscribe, and I'll show you how I take care of this entire garden for 2019. Thanks for watching.